Hey guys, so question of the week.
Please, I have a question that's been disturbing me. I've been in a relationship with a guy for over 7 years now, and in the space of that, in the and in the space of those 7 years, I've had two abortions, or rather, I'm about to have the second abortion because he doesn't have the funds to take care of a child, and also because he doesn't want anything that will stop his dream of traveling out of the country for a better life. He said he would like to get married to me, but wouldn't advise me to wait for him when he's out of the country because he doesn't know when he will be back. So I told him that once I'm done with this abortion, we're done because I don't want to do the whole single mom thing by myself. Was I wrong in my decision?
You know, some guys are really deep, man. Like after 7 years, after stringing this girl for 7 years, you actually have the audacity to, tell her that you'd like to marry her, but at the same time, please don't wait for me if I'm gone. I don't know. It just feels I have a bone to pick with a lot of guys because we're really messing up, man. But it just feels like something I would tell a girl that I feel something for, or I like what I'm getting from, but I don't really want to ruin the relationship by being too direct. So it's just the hints that I'm giving her to sort of leave, or what do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the guy was just sort of like giving hints. He was
I don't
trying
think it
to
was
get,
serious.
I think he was trying to get her to do what he didn't want to do.
That's
Get
it.
her to leave the relationship because he didn't want to be the one to sort of like do
True,
the
true, true, true.
leaving
The
and
messy, yeah, the messy work.
leaving
Yeah.
and stuff. Like when I read this question, it sort of like made me wonder. Okay, fine, 7 years, you've had an abortion already, you're contemplating another one, and it sounds like you really love this guy, you really want to get married to him. So it sort of like got me wondering if this was a decision she had toyed with in the past. And I find like when this is the case, as in it's a decision that you've contemplated in the past, the one reason why you probably won't follow through with it is that the reason you wanted to do it in the first place wasn't strong enough to motivate you to do what you needed to do.
True.
So reading this question, there were obviously sort of like so many red flags that popped out to us. So what we want to do is sort of like just highlight a few of those red flags that we hope will give you reason enough to sort of like stick with your decision and do what you really need to do.
Absolutely. And the first one that I saw was that you've been together for 7 years. Like, that's amazing. Like I think someone can be a doctor in 7 years or
Yeah.
something like that.
Not in Nigeria, though, we strike and stuff.
True. But for the fact that you've been together for 7 years, that's a major red flag because as a guy, I can't imagine being with someone for 7 years and we still don't know what's going on. It's obvious the guy is still holding on for something better. Because from a guy's perspective, once you've been dating for a year and you don't know where that relationship is going, then you are with a time waster basically. I know when we were getting, like, I think the third conversation that we had, I already told her we're getting married December 2015. And I think we started talking February of 2014. But when a guy knows what he wants, he's gonna lock it down quickly. I remember a friend of mine, we were talking last year, and for some reason I feel like, because when he showed me his picture when I was young, that guy looked very scruffy. But I think the older he got, he became an attractive guy. So it feels like he was trying to get revenge to all the babes that like denied him or made him feel bad or something. I don't know, but he was having a lot of fun. Like girls were just flocking over him. And I remember asking him, dude, like, when are you gonna settle down? Like, it's time. Like, what are you doing? You're just messing about. You need to chill and settle down. And it was like, dude, I'm never getting married. Like, I'm having so much fun right now. I'm never getting married. 3 months later, this guy calls me and is like, I'm married, man. And I'm like, what the hell happened? Like, what happened? And he's like, and he literally broke it down. Like, he met a girl that totally just changed his mind about marriage. And the guy, now I don't know if the marriage is gonna last, but at least he made a decision. When a guy knows what he wants, he makes a decision quickly and locks it up.
You know, this sort of like reminded me of last year when Popsy was around. Like last year, my parents came to spend a few weeks with us, and my dad needed to get a new pair of glasses. So we took him somewhere to get an eye test and get a pair of frames. So he did his eye test. We were looking around, and he saw a pair of frames that he liked, but the price was like. So that's how we just told him that. Let's just put this on ice for now.
Let's look
around and then we can come back to this. Let's see what's on the market and then we can come back to this. So a few days later we went somewhere else. He looked around, as in he didn't even spend long looking around. So if he saw a pair that he liked and he was like, yep, this one. And the amazing thing about this was that the pair he decided on was a lot more expensive than the initial pair that we had seen. And like at that point, like the cost was not, it wasn't an option.
I remember when I saw the price, because I was my son was in the, what do you call it? Stroller. When I saw the price, I just started walking out, and they're like, no, come. He's still, I'm like, what are we still, like, it's more expensive than the one we saw before.
So, like, the Holy Spirit just used that as in just to reinforce in my mind that, you know what, as human beings, when we see what we want, regardless of the cost, regardless of the consequences, we go for it. That our hesitation is a sign that we are not as interested or as committed as we initially paint ourselves to be. Because somebody telling you, oh, he would like to marry you, but don't wait for him, and the guy is basically trying to tell you that he's not interested, that you should literally, that you literally just need to move on. Now, the second red flag that sort of like popped out to me was what I just started talking about, was the fact that he said that he would, and notice the words he used. He didn't say, I want to marry you. He said, I would like to marry you. But I wouldn't advise you to wait for me because I don't know when I'll be back. Now, reading the question, it was obvious from the question that this guy doesn't even seem like somebody that is coming back. First of all, he's trying to go abroad, look for a better life and all that. If he comes back, it's probably just to flaunt and show you what he has acquired. And to me, this is just confirmation that this guy is not interested in marrying you. Like, somebody that is interested in marrying you is trying to find out how he can get you to go over with him. Even the choice of words, how he can relocate to get a better life, is not how we can relocate to get a better life. And all these things should be showing you that you are, in the scale of things, you are not a high priority at all. That his number one priority is relocation, that you come maybe a close second or a close third. And this is a really dangerous place to be, because one of the foundational principles of marriage is prioritization, properly prioritizing your spouse. And you begin to see evidence that this person can do it by how they properly prioritize you before marriage. If they're not doing it properly before they get married, it's not something that is going to be done properly after marriage. Because I've seen people that are relocating and they marry their significant others and they're thinking of ways of getting them over, not thinking of, don't wait for me because I don't know when I'll come back for the person that I claim that I want to marry. Just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and for me, the third red flag is, the fact that he was willing to allow you have an abortion because he didn't want anything to affect his relocation. That for me, it really stung me, because I'm like, man, this is not really a man. Because as a guy, I wouldn't allow somebody that I like or even love go through that kind of a situation, based on the fact that I don't want it to affect me traveling out of the country. I know even, and it's funny how little decisions like these actually train whoever you're involved with when you eventually do get married. Because when two of you create a problem, but the guy is willing to take a shortcut because the problem has now become hard, you're actually unconsciously training him that when we do get married, whenever it gets hard, then I will always take the shortcut. And marriage is hard. Marriage is going to get difficult at some points. You know, and that's why a lot of marriages are struggling today, because, you know, when you and your spouse have a problem, rather than deal with it, I'm going outside to release my frustration, or to release my to release my frustration and start having affairs, because you're not willing to stay committed and solve the problem that you've already committed to. Now you start going outside to look for other alternatives and shortcuts to help manage the situation at home. So whenever you make a decision like that, you should already know that you've already started building on a very shaky and faulty foundation. I know that even when we got married and we're thinking of, birth control and stuff like that, when she showed me some of the side effects of these things, I'm like, even if there's a 1% chance that this could happen, based on my love for her, I'm like, I don't want, like, what's the sacrifice that I need to make? Okay, I need to wear something once in a while, or no, I need to wear something a lot of the time, but to be honest, like, I would rather do that than her getting something based on some temporary pleasure that I don't know. It's just, I mean, that's just the way. It doesn't have to be your own thingy, but that's just the way I see it. Third red flag. Okay, I think I'm supposed to be the one that says this one. So basically, so now that we've gone, okay, we're actually going through 3 red flags.
Yes.
So now that we've gone through the 3 red flags, because when people read questions like these, they always focus on, oh, look at what happened. She stayed with him for 7 years. Oh, she had an abortion. She did this. She did that. They're always picking at the symptoms of a problem, the leaves, the branches of a problem, but not dealing with the root cause. One of the questions that I would like you to ask yourself is, how many of these problems would have been avoided if you simply didn't have sex with this guy? Like, if you didn't open that door, you wouldn't have been with this guy for 7 years. He wouldn't have strung you along for 7 years. He wouldn't be telling you this crap about, I want to marry you, but as in that's just stupid. He wouldn't, what's the third thing? Anyway, he wouldn't, like, it's opened up the door to a lot of things that, okay, he wouldn't have allowed you to have an abortion, because simple decisions. I made a video a few months, like, when you make a decision, they don't just come alone, they come rolling deep, they come with a whole squad, so, and you don't get to determine the squad that they bring, so the fact that you open that door has now led to all these other problems, and I remember here reading one thing a few days ago. It says, when a thief wants to steal from you, he doesn't expect that every door in your house or every window is open. All he needs is one. Mm-hmm. You've opened that one door 7 years ago to this guy. Why don't you shut that door and get your life back together? Just stop having sex with him and with any other person, because when you have sex with these guys, it clouds your judgment and you're not able to see these red flags clearly enough. And even when you do see these red flags, you start making excuses for this guy, because you've already lost a part of yourself that you cannot get back, and you just want to you don't want to waste the time that you've already spent in that relationship.
I find that one of the reasons a lot of people are desensitized to this whole idea of abstaining from sex before marriage is because the thing has probably been over spiritualized. They don't really realize that there is actually a very real and physical aspect. There's actually scientific explanation for what we now popularly know as soul ties. Like, when people have sex, there are certain hormones that are released that encourage certain types of behavior, and that was how God created it. Absolutely. So that behavior can be exhibited towards your spouse within the institution of marriage. I think for women, the hormone is oxytocin. For guys, I can't remember what it's called. It's some long, lengthy scientific name. But with oxytocin, I know oxytocin is popularly known as the love hormone, the bonding hormone. It's supposed to make you more loving, more understanding, more amiable, just help you overlook certain things and certain behaviors, because marriage is hard. Spouses are hard. That's basically God's idea. It's something that God has given married couples to sort of like help them weather the storms of weather the storms of marriage. So the next tip that we sort of like wanted to give you was your ability to think things through critically. So critical thinking. So I mean, we've mentioned a few red flags here, and these red flags were they should have been obvious to you if you were not sort of like swallowing everything that he was saying hook, line, and sinker. Like when somebody is telling you something on one hand, but his actions are saying something different on the other, you should be questioning the discrepancy. That okay, fine, one of these things here is lying. Either your words are lying or your actions are lying. So which is it? Then you begin to ask more questions. You begin to dig deeper to get into the root of what is really going on. Because at the back of my mind, as in, I sort of like put ourselves in their situation, that if when we were together you then came to tell me that, oh, you're thinking of going to relocating to Canada, you'd really like to marry me, but you wouldn't advise me to wait.
Let me ask the question. So babe, like, you know, my dream is to relocate to Canada. You know, I've always wanted to marry you, but you know, things happen. When I go though, I would advise you not to wait.
And I'd have told this guy that he's a very unserious fellow, because I
with a slap. Yeah.
Because he's telling me one thing, you're telling me, oh, you would like to marry me, and then you're telling me, oh, but don't wait for me. Those two things don't make sense. They don't go together. They are not making sense together. So I need to start thinking that, okay, fine, something is not making sense here. Something. So you need to be able to think critically, because other guys, as in, once you leave this relationship, you're going to find yourself in another relationship. So you need to be able to think critically that what this person is telling me, is it making sense? Is it lining up with his actions?
Yeah. And final one is triggers, you know, because I know, and she mentioned this earlier, I know that at some point during that 7 years, you probably contemplated leaving, and for some reason you found yourself coming back, you know. And I feel like one of those things that you need to take care of now are the triggers. You know, what pictures do you have together? What text messages, emails, gifts, whatever. Like, you need to get rid of all this stuff, because when you see them, it triggers an emotion in you. It triggers an experience, images in your mind that remind you of this guy, and maybe that's why you felt yourself coming back to him over and over again. So, you know, we definitely agree with your decision to leave. Like, get to the step in, just fade, you know. But we want to ensure that you stick with that decision, because, you know, like she said, you're gonna get into another relationship at some point. We don't want you repeating the same mistakes and replicating the same experiences and results that you've already gotten in this relationship. We want you to flourish in your new relationship, keep yourself pure, so that you don't cloud your judgment, so you can see these red flags clearly, and finally remove the triggers from your past relationships so that they don't interfere with your future relationship. So we hope this helped you. We hope this answered your question and gave you the sort of conviction that you need to move on. If you have any other questions that you want answered before marriage, please give us a comment below or send us a DM or an email, whatever. And please subscribe and like this video if it was helpful. Take care till next week.